Hey guys, so I'm here with my friend Analise today.
Hi.
And she went to Dispenza with me as well. And I decided to have her come on here and share her experience with you guys so that you have somebody else to reference. And in my last video, I spoke about how I had an experience and how we were sent to Colombia and what happened after the retreat. So I feel like her story also has something to do with it. So we're gonna make this video and then we're gonna talk about what happened in Colombia. But this video has to do with the events that happened in between as well.
Yeah.
So Analise, tell us about your Joe experience. What made you decide to go to Joe in the first place?
Well, I discovered Joe through YouTube, and it was just I actually discovered his book before his meditations. The book was Changing the Habits of Being Yourself. I believe that's the title of it, because I read a book
Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Yeah, exactly, because I read a book previously that was very similar to that title, but this was from a more spiritual reference. So I said, oh, this might be interesting. So I started reading listening to the audio book, and by the time I was like more than halfway through, you had called me and you were like, oh, have you heard of this guy? And I really liked the meditation. I think you had gone to like a day or weekend thing that I really didn't know about. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm listening to his book. So we kind of related on that. And I had also started, and you were saying that you read another book. Sorry.
She's getting a call.
So I was reading his book. I was listening to his book on YouTube, and you had mentioned you were listening to the How to Be Supernatural, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I'll read it. I'll read that after this one. And then we were talking about it, and you kind of said, hey, he's having a meditation retreat, which I didn't know much about, and you were like, we should go. And I said, well, yeah, that sounds interesting. I'm really liking this book, and let's do it. So we went to Joe. Of course, I had signed up for a week retreat, which I honestly, at the end of the day, I don't think I was fully grasping what I was getting myself into. But I was just like, yeah, let's do it. And by the time I got there, the second day, we're doing the meditation, and I have this vision or experience, and I was just, how do you describe it? Like, what's going on? And I was like,
she got a little freaked out. It was something new.
Yes.
Analise had her first mystical experience.
Yes, I did. I literally, and I think as well, because he speaks about it a lot, is because I wasn't really grasping the exactly what I was doing. So I was literally in the unknown. But as the days progressed, I was chasing that and, wasn't letting it just flow and happen. So that's why nothing happened after that. But I had an experience, and a few months ago, I'd gone to visit her in Vegas. We went on this hike, and she was like, oh, I had this shamanic journey through this, what was like a video that you did?
Yeah, I had, because I had just recently tried it for the first time. It was a shamanic journey meditation, and I told her that I had a very interesting experience the first time I did it. So we were on this hike, and I was like, oh, it's only 30 minutes. Do you want to do it? So we sit down on this rock, and she tries it for the first time, and this is what happened.
Yeah, and I mean, just point of reference, like, I'm very open to spirituality, I'm very open to mystical, but sometimes it takes someone else to present it for me to actually dive into it. So, we did the shamanic journey, and I saw me walking through this field. I felt so royal and like a goddess. I saw this woman who was like wearing this all this gold, and she looked like a queen. She had this man standing next to her, and he looked like, not like I'm her dominating king. It was just like we stand equally and I support her. And while I was in that experience, like she put something in my chest and was like, you know, it's already inside of you, in a sense of the feeling. And you know, when I got out of the experience, someone was like, wow, you went on a journey. And I was like, didn't you? She's like, not like that. So I was like, oh, okay. But you know, I was like, oh, that's nice. You know, it just felt like something that was just happened and experienced. I was like, that's nice. And then
she likes to do that. So she's open, but also resistant.
Yeah.
A little bit to this kind of stuff, because she'll have an experience and then in her mind she's like, okay, what's next? What am I going to do with that? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
So she had this experience, she saw these people, they spoke to her, and it was like, you know, she told me about it, and then it was like, okay, that was great.
Yeah. It's like, okay, that was nice. What are we gonna go eat later? What are we gonna do? But no, it didn't at the time like really resonate. It just felt like, and I thought that's what, because I you know, had no point of reference. I was like, oh, you have those experiences. You're just like, oh, that's nice, and you carry on. And so at Joe, when I did my meditation, I can't really remember the exact meditation that it was, but we did our meditation, and you know, literally I felt like, number one, I went into the black, into the dark.
So when you go to Joe, he talks about going into the void, becoming nothing, no one, going nowhere.
Yeah.
Moving into the blackness, going deeper. So it's like when you close your eyes, you kind of see black, and he wants you to move out of your body and into the blackness. And especially when you're new and you don't know what's happening, you don't have any
point of reference,
and you're kind of, you know, she was just open. She's like, okay, let me go. Let me go into the void. Let me go into the unknown. Let me go into the blackness. And then this is what happened, because she didn't have a point of reference.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, I guess these 1,500 people are all floating like this along, and this is normal. As it began, as I started to kind of go into that, literally I felt like this being of light. Like all I felt was light. I didn't feel like, I knew I was present in knowing that it was me, but not present in my body or my skin or my curly hair. It was just an aura. And
so you turned into a light being.
Yes. So I was very much a light being, and I entered this building, this like castle in a sense, and there was this woman, but she was a light being just like myself, but I could sense that she was a woman and motherly, and this man or figure was leaning in front of her, and she was doing the same thing that she did in my shamanic journey of placing her hand on his chest, and I could feel that she was healing him. And she had, even though she was a light being, she had like gold tapestries on her, things like that. And, you know, she was like a queen, like coming down to kind of help someone, or rather heal someone. And while she was doing that, I was just standing there looking. And she, although no eyes, no physical features, turned to me and looked directly at me, and she goes, there you are. I've been waiting for you. Where did you go? And it even like gives me chills now. But she was like, where did you go? Well, I'm so glad you're back. And I could just feel it all over my body instantly, that she was my mom. That she was my mother, that I had run away from her, that I had blocked every single ability to heal. And these weren't words that she was telling me. This was just like an instant feeling that I had. And, you know, it's just like if your parent was scolding you and they look at you and you're like, oh shit, I know she's what she's thinking. And I was just like, I was like, oh. And she was like, where have you been? I've been waiting for you. Why did you run away? You know, and then it kind of skipped into this other scene of her, no words, just feeling, and her
like telepathic communication.
Exactly. And her telling me, because I've had some issues with my dad, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, like all of those things. Like me and him literally butt heads, and she again telepathically was like, you're using him as an excuse or as a reason to stop and cover the light that you have inside of you, and you're using him to how can I say it? You're using him to kind of escape. You're using him as like a scapegoat. Like it's his fault that I'm not a light being because he's dominating you, but yet you ran away from the abilities that you have. And then in another moment, it was her standing there again, and it was this figure with her, and I could feel that he was a man and that he was a figure, a light being as well. And he said, and I instantly, not said, but you know, telepathically was like, tell her I never left her, tell her that she's not alone, tell her she needs to just, you know, what was it, like let it go. She needs to let everything go. She needs to let everything go, and she needs to just go, like continue to move on. And it wasn't until I woke up that I realized that was Salma's dad. Because as soon as I woke up, I was like, I have to tell Salma that, because that was Salma's dad. And and I was like, and then we got out of the meditation, and you know, when you get up out the meditation, you kind of look at the person that you're in this little circle with, and you're looking like, oh, how was your journey, or how was your meditation? And you know, she's looking at me and she's like, are you okay?
Like what? You could tell when people have experiences, because some meditations you just get up and you're like, yeah, how was that? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah. And then other times, like the person is in complete like shock or in tears, or like, I need to get out of here. I've
had enough.
Like I gotta go.
Yeah.
Type situation. So I look at her and I'm like, oh, okay. And she's like, we need to talk.
I was like, we need to talk. She was like, do you want to get food? I said, maybe just some fruit. That's it. I don't want anything heavy. I can't eat anything right now. It's like, and I was holding it all in, because it wasn't a moment where I can sit and just talk to her. It was a moment like, there's 1,500 other people here. We need to go somewhere and sit together.
So and just like discuss and talk about what happened. She felt and what happened.
Yeah. So, you know, we get our little snack and we go sit by the hammocks, and she's like, are you okay? And I like instantly start crying, and I'm like telling her this story, and I'm telling her what happened, and I was like, it's been me all along. Like I've been hiding everything, you know, ability wise that I've had. I've been, you know, using it.
So Analise is, I told her a while ago, sometimes I meet people and like their touch, I can tell that they have natural healing abilities. Like they're meant to be healers. Like they're the type of people that can kind of put their hand on you, put it above you, and do healing. Like if you've ever heard of Reiki and things like that, like, you know, there are people out there that can do healings. And I've always mentioned it to her and told it to her, and
I'd be like, yeah, that's nice.
she's just like, oh my God, I don't want to be one of those lunatics out on the streets with a crystal ball asking people to touch them. And so for her, that's like the image she gets in her head, and it's like kind of her worst nightmare.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm going to be a real estate developer, and I'm going to, you know, be in the stock market, and I'm going to be, you know, making billions. And that's like where
my mentality was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for her to have this experience, and for her, you know, light being mother that she's never met in this lifetime, that she recognized, who was asking her like, where have you been? You know, you're using your dad as an excuse to not, let your light shine.
Yeah.
And you're running away from this.
Yeah. And
So,
a lot of it too was, when I grew up with my dad, he is very adamant on, if you're not the best and if you're not the first, you're second, and you've lost. There's no result to that. You need to put in the work. You need to get the work done. There's no he would incensed kind of say, oh, God's gonna take care of that. How is that gonna work? So you're gonna end up pushing a cart on the street like everybody else, waiting for God. And that was his emphasis of it. Like, if you're not working and you're waiting for God, God does nothing. So that whole experience, it's like, I can't be this mystical person because he's not going to approve of me. He's going to think that this is crazy. How am I going to make money off of that? How am I going to, do all of these things? But literally being there in that experience, it felt so real. It felt so much like all of these things that you have already known have been here. You've come across Salma for a reason, because of the fact, you needed someone to crack away at that hard exterior. You needed someone to allow you to slowly step into it, because if anyone forced me, it would have been an issue. And it was just allowing me to see that you have these abilities, and you've been neglecting them, and you've been hiding them, and you've been suppressing them to go after things that, I'm going to tell you right now, I've worked harder than anybody on a lot of things that I would have progressed, but I kept failing at. And they all make sense now, because that's not what I was supposed to be doing. Legit would go home and practice interviews, call thousands of people, do all of these things, and I'm like, how is it possible that not even anything yet? And then I get here and they're like, well, you're not supposed to be doing that anyway. You're supposed to be a healer, and you're supposed to be, and I'm like, oh. Oh.
So her living mom is like, you need to be a healer. That's what you're here to do. The people are waiting for you. Shine your light. Get it together. I'm always with you.
Yeah.
And she's in just complete shock.
Completely. And I mean, literally, I was like, was that real? What type of music is this that they're putting this into my, just all of these things that you create to kind of, what is the word? Kind of say that it's not real. Say that something factored into what created it that wasn't your willing thoughts. Just your ego stomping on it and saying that's not real, that's not anything. But God comes in or the divine comes in, not in words, because not one of that experience was in words. It was all feeling. It was all, I felt it in my gut. I felt it throughout my body. I felt it, I felt it as if I had hair, but I didn't have hair. It's just, I felt the wind. I felt everything. And it was just like, what is going on? What is happening? And what the hell did I just get myself into? And it was like, oh my God, what's happening? Is this gonna happen every day? So, but I think from then on out, it was, again, my fear kind of suppressing, like, oh my God, I don't know if I could handle anything more than this. And I get there and they're like, you're supposed to be leaving your body and traveling down the street as a light. There's so many things that rattle through your brain. And I think that kind of prevented me from going too deep as time went on. But as the days progressed, there were a lot more tears, because I realized, how grateful I was in so many scenarios. I realized how, I felt the energy of divine, and I felt the energy of that light being that I was. But again, I realized there was a lot of peeling back of things as we adults we put on top of us to kind of bury who we really are inside. And that was a lot of peeling back, a lot of crying, like the time when you saw me or felt me crying, and I was like in my head like, oh, where's Salma? And we're like doing this walking meditation, and after the meditation, like I'm sitting there, I'm just crying on the beach, and you know I have my head in my hand.
But she has to tell you guys why she was crying and what she manifested in that moment. Okay,
Yeah.
Things happen at Joe Dispenza. It's
Yeah.
so wild. Okay.
Yeah, so you know I was crying, just like thankful, gratitude. You know, my initial like gratitude was for all of the abundance that I'll have, all of the, you know, ability to kind of just take care of myself, take care of my family. And there was, and I had gotten a new vehicle because my other vehicle that I had was just totaled. That was a whole nother story, but that was totaled. And, you know, I was forced into getting a new car because I never would have got a new car. And, you know, I was forced into that situation. And I was just like crying and grateful that I'm still alive, everything's still good, you know, I'm still progressing in the right direction. I don't know what I'm gonna do or how it's gonna happen or where I'm gonna get the money, you know, but I'm just gonna step out there. And that in itself was like a release. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and make my car payment. And it's my first car payment. I was like, I need to make this payment. So I opened up my account on the beach to make my car payment, and as I look into my account, it's like, oh, $20,000 are now in your account. And I showed Salma, and she's like, where did you get that from? I was like, oh my God, it's abundance. But at the same time, it was abundance. It was literally abundance. I applied for something a while back, and you know, just like I need help, and I applied for it. But when I did, they were like, "You are not going to get this. You're not approved for this. Basically, wrap it up." No. So I was like, "Okay, well, fine." And that was a few months back. So it was never in my mind, and I looked down, and that's where it came from. And again, they had told me no, and there was nothing like saying, hey, we reapplied you for this and you're approved. Like, no, it just dropped and came. And I was like, wow.
It was definitely a wow moment, because
yeah, that
was one thing that she was manifesting.
Yes.
When you go to Joe, you make a mind movie.
Yeah.
And it's like a manifestation board in movie form.
Mm-hmm.
And hers was like, I'm abundant, I'm royal,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a light being, I'm love,
Mm-hmm.
I can take care of myself, I can take care of my family,
Mm-hmm.
and
I can do whatever I want to do. I have the ability to, you know, have abundance just come to me effortlessly, and I can do whatever it is that I want to do without being egotistical about it, without harming anyone or anything like that, but just like I've been allowed the ability to be abundant, period. So, yeah.
And the universe was like, watch this, baby, we're gonna make it drop into your account, because you're doing the meditations and the walking meditations and feeling the emotions and releasing things that you need to release.
Yeah.
So here you go. We're gonna let you know that what you're doing here is working.
Yes, absolutely. And even when getting it, I was a little hesitant to even like share. I was like, oh, I like, no one's gonna believe that, but someone's like, no, people need to know that this is happening. Like, you are actually, you know, manifesting this and pulling this in. Like, excuse me, like, don't hide it, don't, you know. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, it should be something to encourage someone, not to, because I don't want to be boastful. I don't want to be egotistical. I want to, like, you know, I want to be like so it felt boastful, but at the same time, it's like, it's not boastful. It's like, you are blessed with abundance because you allowed abundance to come into your life. You allowed it to enter into your life, and you sharing that may spark someone else to say, yeah, I need to just be open to the abundance that's here for me, in whatever form it may be.
Yeah, and when you're at the Joe retreat, you're like with 1,400, 1,500 people, and people are sharing their experiences.
Yeah.
So when you're like, hey, I was manifesting abundance, and on day 4, I got a drop in my account for all this money. Like, people want to hear it because they're like, oh my God, what's happening in this retreat is working. This person healed. This person can walk. This person made all this money. Like you want to share the experiences because it gets people motivated and inspired and in the right vibe. And they're like, well, if it's happening to that random person and this random person, then I can do it too.
And Joe shared that. He shared an experience where a guy in his account was $500,000. And, it was through his manifestation, through his, continued abundance and things like that. And people were like, well, he must have filled out something and maybe he was already in that. And it's like, no, he was just, on that path to abundance and allowed it to enter into his reality. So and when he shared that, he was like, it doesn't matter prior, it's now. Like, what did you open up yourself to? So
she just had connected to the energy, especially in that moment. She's crying on the beach, she's feeling abundant, she's grateful,
tons of emotions,
grateful for what she has. And then it's like, oh, let me pay my car payment. Now that I'm done crying about how great I feel, how abundant I feel, let me just pop it in my account and pay my car. Oh, look at all this money.
I was like, holy shit. I said, wow, this feels amazing. Where are we going next? No.
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we definitely ended up traveling, and we want to tell you more about that because we continued the meditations after we left the retreat, and more things opened up to us. We got more messages, but before we make that video, which we're going to make next, Analise, like, what was the biggest thing that you got from Joe? From Joe, going to Joe.
Again, I feel like it allowed me to open up to the divine. It allowed me to be in touch with things that I already knew but suppressed. So in a sense, it was confirmation. It was confirmation that you felt these feelings before, but this is how to really connect to them again. This is how the things that you've said, how I used to be like, oh, I feel like someone's trying to steal my light, or I feel like, I just want to be a light being. Like, the things that I would just come up with, not being an avid, spiritual person, just automatically felt them, made sense. It was like that connection was drawn, and it's like, wow, this is why. This is what you were really feeling on the inside. This is where that came from. So it just opened up that connection. It allowed me to see the divinity not only all around me but inside of me that I never fully tapped into or never believed that I had until I actually physically touched it. And then Joe talks about you'll feel experiences that will be brand new but feel so familiar to you, and that's how my mystical experience was. Like, it was something I would have never guessed, but it felt so familiar. So it just opened up a whole new world to me, to the divine, to allowing me to continue walking in that path, and to honestly not get enough of it and want more. So yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Once you get there, you're addicted because it feels so good.
Yeah, it feels amazing, and he doesn't want us to chase after anything. He wants us to allow it to come in, but it's just like telling your body, I want to connect. And any other issues that you have about you need to be getting up and doing this, you need to connect to the divine. You need to connect to God. You need to slow down. You need to activate your whole soul, right? I mean, you just need to activate yourself, not anything else but that. So
Well, there you have it, Annalise's experience. If you guys like this video and want to know what happened after, we're gonna film that now and I'll post it next week. So we, manifested more, traveled a little bit, and more things popped up as we continued doing the meditations. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you for my next video.